Good afternoon. This Committee of Adjustment meeting for the Township of Selwyn on Tuesday, December the 13th, 2022 will come to order. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of the committee, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Yes?
I, Mary Coolis, am declaring incorrect.
That's for the council meeting?
She said I would do it. Oh, sorry. I thought you said the beginning of the
Yeah,
council meeting. Oh,
that's okay.
sorry. My bad.
Seeing none, please note it in the minutes. And I will now turn it over to Brandy to announce the purpose of the meeting and our first application, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee of Adjustment is holding a public hearing in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, in order to consider 3 applications for relief from Bylaw 2009-21, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the Township of Selwyn. The prescribed notices of the public hearing were provided by prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 60-meter radius of the subject properties. Ministries and agencies were circulated via email. The subject properties were posted with a sign advertising the public hearings. The notices were also available on the township's website. The notice circulation complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. If a person or a public body does not make oral submissions at the public hearing or written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn before the variances are granted, the public or person may not be entitled to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn on the proposed minor variances, you must make written requests to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn by fax, email, or Dropbox. Okay, so starting with the first application, which is A5422 for the property located at 2210 Cedarwood Lane. The application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 13.5 meters to a dwelling, as well to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 9.6 meters to an open deck. This is in order to permit the construction of a new 2,534.2 square foot, 2-story residential bungalow with a walkout basement, including a 224.5 square foot covered front porch and a 692.2 square foot rear open deck. We found that this application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance and recommend it for approval. We also found that this application does warrant the requirement for an archaeological assessment. We did circulate notices and agency comments were received from the Otonabee Region Conservation Authority. They commented that an ORCA permit will be required and also recommended that the applicant establish or increase vegetation protection zone along the shoreline to a minimum of 30 meters using a native non-invasive species. Sedimentation and erosion mitigation measures are also recommended during development on site. As well, we did receive comments from Curve Lake after the report from the planner was prepared. And the report from Curve Lake did note that they also do require that an archaeological assessment be performed. We did not receive any public comments for this application.
All right, thank you very much, Brandy. I just want to make note that all the applications we're dealing with this evening are consent applications. We will hear each one and then make a motion at the end. I understand that the agent for this property is on the line. Is that clear? True, Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk? All right. Is there anything that you would like to add to what has been said by the planner? Hello? Looks like he's kind of frozen. Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Hi, Krista, can you hear us?
Hi there. Sorry about that, guys. We had a technical issue.
All right. Is there anything you would like to add to what the planner has said, Krista?
I just wanted to comment on Yeah, they basically the building envelope or the lack thereof on this site due to obvious road setback, water setback, et cetera. And I know that the neighbors and somebody down the road has been able to achieve a bit more than I think what we're asking for. So I think it's a really strong case for us, and our archaeological assessment has been completed and there has been no noted reason to not move forward with the build.
All right, thank you very much. And is there anyone else on the line that is in support of this application, Deputy Clerk?
Yes, we have the owner, Tim Bell. He's on screen.
Hello, would you like to add anything to what has already been said? No?
No, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone on the line that is opposed to this application?
Madam Chair, we do have someone else here in support of the application, and that's Stuart Bell.
Oh, all right. And Mr. Stuart Bell, do you have anything you wish to add?
No, nothing to add.
Thank you very much. So do we have anyone opposed to the application?
There's no one else here opposed to for this application. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Is there any questions with regards to this? Seeing none, we will move on to A5522, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Application A5522 is for the property at 2168 Fire Route 20. This application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 5.8 meters to an existing dwelling. This is in order to permit the construction of a new 908.5 square foot dwelling addition, which includes a 142.5 square foot covered porch. We found that this application does meet the 4 tests of the minor variance and recommend it for approval. We do recommend that an archaeological assessment be performed for this application. We did receive agency comments from the Otonabee Region Conservation Authority after this application or this report was prepared by our planner. ORCA has submitted comment that they do require a permit, as well that they recommend that the applicant submit a planting plan to restore to the maximum extent possible the ecological features and functions in developed shoreline areas and establish or increase the extent and width of a vegetation protection zone along shoreline to a minimum of 13 meters. We also did receive comments from Curve Lake after this report was prepared. And Curve Lake did also indicate that an archaeological assessment is required. No public comments were received for this application.
All right. Thank you very much. And I understand the agent, Holly Richards Conley, is on the line.
Good evening. Through you, Madam Chair. I just have a few things to add in regards to the conditions on this application. We are currently preparing the ORCA permit alongside the planting plan, so that's not an issue. An archaeological assessment was completed back in October and nothing of archaeological significance was found, and the report is currently being filed with the ministry. And the owners also installed a brand new septic system last year. So we've been in correspondence with Peterborough Public Health, and we already have a letter from them letting us know that the new septic that was installed is sufficient in size and that nothing else is required for building permit from them.
All right. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the line that is in favor of this application? Deputy Clerk?
Madam Chair, there's no one else on the line in favor or in opposition of this application.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to A5622, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. A5622 for the property at 766 Fifes Bay Marina Lane. This application seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 16.9 meters to a open deck. It seeks relief to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 20.28 meters to a dwelling, as well to increase the maximum total lot coverage from 20% to approximately 25.1% in order to permit the construction of a new approximate 3,298.1 square foot dwelling, including a 302.7 square foot breezeway, a 527.8 square foot open deck, and a 1,343.3 square foot attached garage. We found this application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance and recommend it for approval. We also do find that this application does warrant the requirement for an archaeological assessment. Agency comments were received from the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority advising that an ORCA permit is required, as well as recommending that the applicant establish or increase the vegetation zone along the shoreline to a minimum of 30 meters using native or non-invasive species. Sedimentation and erosion mitigation measures are also recommended during the development on site. We also did receive comments from Curve Lake after the preparation of this report, and Curve Lake First Nation has indicated that an archaeological assessment is required. No public comments were received for this application.
Thank you very much. And Deputy Clerk, was there anyone in favor or against this application that is on the line?
Madam Chair, we have no one on the line in favor or in opposition of this application.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to committee. Any questions? Seeing none, I will look for a motion to approve these three applications. Moved by Brian Henry, seconded by John Boyko. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We have no deferred matters. We have minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting of November the 8th. I'm looking for someone to move those. Ron Black, Mary Coolis, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And a motion to adjourn, please. John Boyko and Brian Henry, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. We'll begin our council meeting at 6. Thank you. Good evening. This council meeting for the Township of Selwyn, December the 13th, 2022 will come to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mishi, Sagag, and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Please observe a moment of silence so the council, staff, and members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Thank you. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Councillor Koulis.
I, Mary Koulis, am declaring an indirect pecuniary interest as it regards to agenda item number 10A, closed session, boards and committee appointments.
Thank you. We have minutes from November the 8th and our special council meeting of November 22nd and December 1st. Can I have a mover, please, to approve all those minutes? Deputy Mayor Black and Councillor Koulis, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And we now have some staff introductions. First of all, we have Amy Stevenson, and I understand that she's here virtually. And Mike Richardson, if you'd like to say something nice about her.
Of course, I absolutely would like to, through you, Madam Mayor. It's been a real pleasure to have Amy join our team. We had the opportunity to have her work for a very short time, part-time, covering a maternity leave. And then when the opportunity became available to join us on a full-time basis, she did, which is been a couple months now. So it's been absolutely wonderful. And I believe Amy has some words she'd like to say as well.
Good evening. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, I am really enjoying my position at the township, and having had that part-time experience and then being on as a full-time employee, I'm really pleased to be joining the team. Having 3 kids, I've been a consumer of the Parks and Recreation Department, so it's great to see the other side of things and be part of the community in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, and welcome.
Thank you.
We now have Kate Bedford, who is joining us virtually. And Lane, would you like to say a few words about Kate?
Sure. Through you, Madam Chair. Probably the first time that I'll have more words to say than Mike in a meeting, but just a few prepared notes. Kate is our asset management financial services assistant, and comes to Selwyn with a great cross-section of financial experience that she gained in various positions while working in Western Canada. Kate and her family moved back to the area to be closer to extended family. And while working at Trent University, Kate saw our job posting and decided to join Selwyn to coordinate the next stages of our asset management journey, and also further explore her career potential in financial planning. Kate's made significant progress already on various areas in our asset management plan, tangible capital asset registers, and is reviewing plans across the municipal sector. Kate asks great questions, so that's always a good start. Has great suggestions for process improvements, and will add depth to financial planning within the department. So please welcome Kate. Kate, if you want to say a few words.
There, just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm really enjoying my time so far. It's been we're going on a couple months now, and I'm just feeling really thankful to be a part of such an amazing team. Everyone is just so warm and helpful, welcoming, and I'm really happy with my time here so far. Looking forward to learning from Lane and the rest of the team in many aspects. So thank you.
Well, thank you and welcome to you too, Kate. Glad to have you as part of the team. All right, now we are looking at staff long service awards, and Joe Nadeau is here virtually, is he? And who is going to speak on Joe's behalf?
His manager, Rick, is on the line, Rick Dunford.
Okay, Rick.
Hello there. Joe has been with us 15 years as of last March. He started as a labor equipment operator, and he's worked his way up to lead hand. And he's helped us with patrolling and the health and safety within the township. And he's been a great asset for the township. Did you want to say something, Joe? Are you there, Joe?
Yep. Hello. How are you?
There you go.
Hi, Joe.
Hi. I just want to say I'm happy to be here for the last 15 years and hopefully another 5 maybe at the most. But we're a tight knit group of guys over in the roads department, and it's been a good journey. We all have a good time, and we try and work hard and do our best for the township to serve it. And I couldn't be happier where I am.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, thank you very much for your years of service, Joe.
No, thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you. And next we have Ross Wallace. He's not attending tonight, and Mike is going to say a few words on his behalf.
If Lane wants to finish up, he's certainly more than welcome to. Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Really glad to be able to speak about Ross. He's quite shy, so he didn't have any interest in attending either virtually or in person. But certainly, he's an extremely valuable asset and a great member of our team. Sometimes he can be a bit of a rough nut, but his heart is absolutely pure gold. He loves working for the township and working in Lakefield, and certainly is in love with the Chiefs. His level of work is absolutely, without question, the highest it could be, and his care for his fellow workers is just as great. So he's been a great asset for 15 years. He came from Peterborough, who working part-time with them, and is not only very talented, but he certainly is very committed to what he does.
Well, thank you very much. And next is Michelle Thornton, who's been with us for 25 years, and she's no stranger to the rest of us. And Lane, would you like to, first of all, there's Michelle. Hi. Would you like to say anything? Michelle?
Sure. Yeah, I guess, well, I don't know a lot of people who can say they've worked for the same employer for 25 years, let alone still say they enjoy it. And that is certainly my case. I think that speaks volumes really for the organization, and most of all for the people that work here, including senior management and of course, Lane, my manager. I've had the opportunity to witness a lot of changes over the years, and also help implement some of them. And so I consider myself really fortunate for all of the learning and growth opportunities. So thanks very much.
Thank you. And Lane?
Sure. It's interesting that Michelle used the word change, because that's something that I was thinking of. How do we go over 25 years? So yeah, a lot of change, and a lot of change in financial services together, from municipal accounting systems before Windows. So back when we were in Business Basic and Unix and that type of stuff, working through financial analysis before electronic spreadsheets, and then introducing electronic spreadsheets and word processing. Most of the folks here would know that Michelle helped me transition from Lotus 123 over to Excel. So that was quite a task. Our budget was small back in those days, but we made do. We repurposed a lot. So, Michelle believes in lifelong learning and also in continuous improvement. And I will say from time to time, despite my best laid plans and contingencies and different things like that, things might go off the rails a little bit, and sometimes life happens. And that's when, over the years, I've turned to Michelle as my troubleshooter. Basically, she digs in, analyzes, sticks at it, and and typically gets that problem fixed. So Michelle's very innovative, and I would say what can really only be described as an old-fashioned work ethic in any derogatory way whatsoever, because when a deadline's close, sometimes short, Michelle just doubles down, gets the work done. She's currently helping Mike, as council is aware, in IT roll out Microsoft 365 and a new VoIP phone system. Yeah, we got a lot of challenges yet to face and a few remaining years together to work on those, but I'm really pleased at this time to recognize Michelle's contributions to Selwyn and thank her for 25 years of service to the department.
No, thank you, Lane. And thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
And now we are going to recognize Rick Dunford, who is retiring. And Janice is going to be speaking about Rick.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm happy to recognize Rick, our manager of public works, this evening. He is out there listening to us. I know he can listen. I know he can see us, although we can't see him. So Rick's retiring after over 30 years service to the township. He started with the former Township of Smith back in 1991 as an equipment operator, and over the years just progressed through the positions of lead hand and supervisor until ultimately becoming the department manager in 2007 or 2017. Sorry about that, about 5 years ago. And it has kind of been a common theme. It's fair to say that Rick has seen his fair share of change over those years as well. A dramatic amount of change, actually. Lots of challenges, lots of opportunities, and certainly Rick's efforts to manage those things and just to move us forward have contributed a great deal to the level of service that we provide to the community. So he's done a great job. He's great with people in the community, and he's going to be missed. Certainly, he has been very dedicated to the township, and he has a vast knowledge of the township as well. So we're all going to miss that. It's been great to have him as part of the team. And for sure, I definitely thank him for all of those contributions he's made. He's made a significant contribution to the township. And I hope you can all just join me in congratulating him as he nears his very well-deserved retirement. We're not letting him go until mid to late January, so this is a little bit early, but just did want to recognize him at this meeting and, of course, send him very, very best wishes when he gets on to that next chapter for good health and happiness.
No, thank you very much. And thank you, Rick. You always have a smile on your face. And I don't know how you do that when you're in public works, but hey. Anyways, thank you so much. Yes.
Am I on? Yeah. Sorry. No, I just want to again thank Rick. He was he was working here when I was on council the last time. So there's a little bit of history there, but I can tell you, Rick, honestly, knocking on doors, talking to people about our roads, we have the best roads in Peterborough County, and that's a tribute to your consistent work and high level of care for our road system. So I want to thank you for that, and you will be missed.
Thank you. All right, next we have some volunteer firefighter long service rewards, 25 years and plus. And if you'd like to join me, please, Gord, Fire Chief.
So we'll start off with the youngest and go to the old. So Jimmy McIntosh come to us 10 years ago after he retired as a captain and part-time training officer in city of Toronto, and come with really good recommendations when we went through the process. So Jim's done a lot of work. He's still huge in training with us. He stepped right up even when he first started right down in Norwood for the new recruit course, and he's kept going ever since. So Jimmy, come on up. 40 years, it's a long time, and still enjoying it. And also, Jim, there's your federal medal, and so now you get weighted down a little bit more on the front end. So thanks, Jim. to the other gentleman, long timer again, and still we got to suffer with poor old Jer here. So Jer started in 1972 and it was Smith Township, and Jer kept right on through, right through Smith Annismore, Lakefield, right to the full change of Selwyn. Jer is the senior captain right now for Hall 5, which both gentlemen are from Hall 5 in Annismore. And Jer runs a pretty good ship there. He's got a great crew, and they all come in and they've all got a smile on their face. They're having fun. They get the job done and they get the job done safe. Jer, 50 years. Come on up here. Awesome. And 4 bars. We almost get close to norm for silver on the front end here, so.
All right, so we are going to go right into our public meeting for the disposal of township property on Bishop Street. And if I can have the planner announce the purpose of the meeting, please. Got to do something about your mic there, Robert.
Special. Good evening, through you, Madam Mayor. Tonight's public meeting is for the disposal of a strip of township-owned land in behind proposed development off of Bishop Street. The parcel of land is 0.23 acres, approximately 25 feet by 400 feet of landlocked land. It is the development on 45 Bishop Street is a proposed court with some smaller block row housing and semi-detached units. The strip of land, we were approached by the developer to potentially purchase that strip of land off us to better facilitate some stormwater management facilities that they would be looking to place across the back portion of those lands. It's a landlocked parcel that the township has no purpose for and has no road access. So we followed the process within our real property disposal bylaw, and that brings us to the meeting tonight. If you have any further questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
All right, thank you very much. Deputy Clerk, is there anyone here virtually to speak in favor or against this?
There were no public comments.
Thank you very much. I will bring it to council. Is there any questions with regards to this application? Deputy Mayor Black.
Just one question. It's kind of an odd piece of property. How does the township acquire a piece of property like that?
Oh, that is a good question, Deputy Mayor. myself and several of the other senior management team have done quite a bit of digging, and I'm not sure that we have a conclusive answer to that.
No, we just think that it was a remnant parcel that we ended up with. We really don't understand why.
All right, so can I have a motion, please, to approve Deputy Mayor Black and Councillor Henry? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Were there any questions, Madam Clerk?
No questions.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to staff reports. Pear, you're going to be talking to us about Bill 109 Planning Act changes.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So I will be talking about Bill 109 changes to the Planning Act. I know we said that during one of the training days for council that we may also have some additional changes in regard to Bill 23 ready for tonight. We're going to backtrack on that. We won't be dealing with Bill 23. We're due to the significant changes under Bill 23. We're going to do a little bit more analysis and get some legal advice on those issues before we present on Bill 23 sometime in the new year. So we're just dealing with Bill 109. Bill 109 received royal assent on April 14th of this year. One of the there's two significant changes, immediate changes that need to occur as a result of Bill 109 to the Planning Act. One of those deals with staff approvals being delegated to, approvals for site plan control being delegated to staff only. That change was dealt with earlier this year. So the remaining part of it deals with under site plan control and under zoning applications. There's legislative requirements for refund of fees if the approval is not granted under the timeframes legislated under the Planning Act. So on analysis, one of the key barriers to approvals not being granted on time for those two types of applications is peer review, technical peer review. So that means when applications are submitted, oftentimes there's engineering reports and such that we don't have in-house expertise to review. So those types of reports are then sent out to third-party reviewers, and the township has no control over sort of the length of time in many cases that it can take to complete that technical peer review, because there may be several iterations of that review that need to occur. After the first review, there may be deficiencies in those reports. So then they have to go back to the applicant. They have to address those deficiencies, and it comes back again to our third-party reviewers. So oftentimes we can end up over the legislated timeframes, and we could be into this position where we need to refund application fees. We presented on this issue back in April of this year. And there was a resolution 2022-069 that we bring forward how we see what changes need to occur to our local bylaws in order to address the refund of fees issues. And so what our recommended solution was that we make peer review part of a complete application. So rather than it occurring after the application is submitted, the applicant or the proponent will have to complete all the peer review before we'll accept the application as being complete. And then once it enters with us for our approval, all we're doing then is completing the public meeting requirements under the Planning Act for if there is one. For site plan control, there isn't, but under zoning there would be. And then also under site plan control, there's only just the requirement to actually by our public consultation, our regular course of action is to circulate at least to the Tonabee Region Conservation Authority that acts as sort of our environmental department, and also internally, right? Excuse me, within our Public Works Department, and that just to have final comments before the manager of Public Works would then issue the approval for site plan application. I'll skip my report outlines sort of the timeframes around when refunds are due and how long we have to make a decision on those applications. Those details are in the report. Just to go over, excuse me, some, just go over quickly. I highlighted the provisions that we're either adding or amending into three particular local bylaws, and that's the pre-consultation bylaw, the site plan control bylaw, and a public consultation bylaw. So I'll just quickly go through those highlighted sections. If you go into the copy of the attachments for tonight's meeting under proposed bylaw 2022-080 dealing with site plan control, on page 3, there's a highlighted section that basically just outlines that we will not accept or further consider an application that doesn't have peer-reviewed reports included in it, and also outlining that from the way we're going to apply it is the time frame for approval does not begin without a complete application. And then also skipping over to the last page of the bylaw, we've added a definition of what the record of pre-consultation is. It was just means of the document prepared as a result of our pre-consultation bylaw. And I've also included the refund of fees schedule directly from the Planning Act into the site plan control bylaw itself. And then there is also our schedules. If you go further into the document, we've made some changes there too. Under Schedule C, we're also including the peer review clearances are required as listed in the record of pre-consultation, which was not indicated under that bullet point before. Into the guideline that's also part of the bylaw itself that goes out to the public under pre-consultation, we've added a paragraph explaining about the requirement for peer review clearances. We've also added under processing times. We've changed the paragraph there more to reflect that the 60-day approval plot time under the Planning Act would apply following a complete application. And the finalized approval paragraph should have been changed under the previous amendment that for the delegation of approval authority to the manager of building and planning. So we've just changed that paragraph that all applications for site plan control go through the manager of building and planning. The paragraph used to split the approval authority between major site plan control applications, which were 500 square meters and above, and those less than 500 square meters and below, where the 500 square meters and above used to go to council for final approval. So that's just a little tidy up of that paragraph. And then also under general submission requirements, we're just putting in a bullet point around required peer review reports and drawings as identified during pre-consultation. And we're also, as listed in my report, making some changes to application requirements that we're only going to require digital submissions going forward to save paper, right? We're more than, we've investigated the need of whether we need paper at all. And we've come to the conclusion that it's really not necessary. Any documentation in terms of formal legal agreements, obviously we'll look after that those get hard copies and filed accordingly. And then in that particular document, I think that's all the changes under the site plan control bylaw. Under the pre-consultation bylaw, the proposed bylaw number 2022-082, we're just adding a definition for peer review clearance, which is just this evaluation by a third-party expert that I explained about before. I've broken down the record of pre-consultation meeting definition, the record of pre-consultation definition a little bit more. All that content was already previously in the bylaw. I just made it bullet points a little bit more so that it's clear what all the content of that document are. And also adding a definition for request for pre-consultation, that is just another form we prepared that you have to submit in order to come and meet with us. And then some of the bullet point of what a record of pre-consultation was in bullet point number 7, what the applicant's responsibility for. So I've just kind of split up to make it clear that all the applicant is responsible for is submitting this request for pre-consultation. And then what our responsibilities are in terms of under bullet point 8 are, again, just all that content was already there. I'm just making it up a little bit clear to make the bullet points a little clearer that we will schedule the meeting and have a formal record of application, record of pre-consultation completed within 30 days. And then also under bullet point 10, similar to the site plan control bylaw issuing, again stating that we won't consider an application complete following the pre-consultation meeting unless all the requirements in the record of pre-consultation have been submitted, including peer review reports. The last document being with a minor change is our community consultation policy. We're just changing the definition of complete application to make it clear once again that peer review clearances are required to be submitted for a complete application. So the verbiage in that first paragraph on the first page has just slightly been modified. And also, actually, one more change there. It's more of an administrative change, just so I don't forget about it. It was recommended that this time around, we're actually having to pass a new bylaw and a new policy. We're adding a paragraph that allows us to just change the policy through resolution should need be in the future. So we won't actually have to pass another bylaw. It'll just be a resolution changing the particular policy.
Okay, thank you. The county has already made these changes in the OP, correct? To conform with this?
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. Outlined in my report, there is a requirement under the Planning Act. I didn't touch on this, but there is a requirement under the Planning Act that we can only request these type of requirements regarding peer review through our local bylaws if there is official plan policy in that regard. So we did have the County of Peterborough initiate an official plan amendment. And not only for us, for all the townships that are under the official plan right now, which is 4 of them. We all supported this amendment. Basically, the amendment allows us to prescribe this peer review being part of complete application requirements. And that was passed as part of OPA number 74, I believe it was, at the end of November. That official plan amendment is now in effect.
Okay, and what it is doing is ensuring that we aren't going to be losing fees because agencies are dragging their feet. Right?
Through your worship, or to answer your question, Your Worship, yeah. So it's more any agencies like the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority that will do not only just commenting on an application, but also doing technical peer review, which can be quite drawn out and lengthy. And you're correct. So it's to make sure that review period doesn't extend over the approval timeframe under the Planning Act, and then we have to refund fees.
Right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Are there any questions with regards to this? Deputy Mayor Black?
I have some comments. They're going to take a few minutes just around the whole the bill and what it means to the process. And thank you, Pierre. You've done a good review of kind of why we're here today, talking about changing bylaws and policies with regards to peer review. So I have a number of comments, and I just want to make sure that I'm not directing comments at staff, at the county, or here. It's about the process, the planning process. And I think we're all aware that Bill 109, Bill 23, those are all things that are supposed to help with the planning process, but they do create significant challenges for staff and applicants, of course. So the act was really the Community Infrastructure and Housing Accelerator Act was put in place to ensure that there's an accountability for municipalities to move planning applications through the system in a reasonable amount of time. So projects can move forward, build affordable homes, long-term care, businesses, create places to live, jobs for our community. Municipalities who can't move that development process through the planning process have been seeing an increase of the MZO because of delays and so on. Minister orders push the rezoning through without council approval. That sort of thing has happened in the last 2 years. Twice as much as it's happened in the previous 18 years. So that's not a road we want to go down, obviously. We want our community councils to make decisions around planning issues. Councils will be able to use the Bill 109, the Housing Accelerator legislation, to speed up approvals. So when councils turn down valid applications, appeals to the Land Tribunal, that are approved by the land tribunal will actually end up having to pay tribunal costs. The township will. So again, it's in our best interest to make good decisions around planning applications. If the municipality can't complete the process in a prescribed period, as our planner said, the requirement under the act is to return some of the fees to the applicant. And municipal staff has said, because of the challenges of getting peer review completed, is one of the biggest challenges that they have no control over on how long that process could take. So, you know, making this change in the bill, and I support the change, protects the corporation from losing any money, but which is our duty as council to make sure that is taken care of. But our duty is also to take care of the residents and people that want to bring housing and businesses and jobs to our community. So how do we make the other end of it work for our folks? So prior to the provincial bill, the bylaw amendment, an application was deemed complete once the applicant submitted all of their engineering reports and studies and consultations, drawing surveys, and necessary documents to the county and the township, as Per has mentioned. And I do appreciate the idea of the digital submission being something new, because copying all those studies 5 times in hard copy is thousands of dollars in work and copying. So I think that's a great move forward. So now the application isn't deemed complete until the peer review stuff is put through, and that could be, you know, based on how much of it has to be done. It's tens of thousands of dollars, as well as months, in some cases 6 months, to get all of that peer review in. And I know that because on the other side, preparing all of those reports takes 2 to 3 years to get all those reports put together for any kind of development. So it's not you know, unbelievable to say it takes 6 months for those reports to even just get reviewed. So the peer review requirements, so once the application has their pre-consultation meeting with the township and the county planning staff, and might include Orca and the applicant's planners or architects, they're sent away with a laundry list of studies and so on that need to be completed, reports, surveys, and so on. And they have to be submitted if you're doing a zoning bylaw amendment or an OPA application. In most cases, it takes the applicant 2 to 3 years to put all of those projects together, because the engineering firms, by the time you engage them, it's 2 or 3 months. It takes them a month to do the work, and then another month to provide the report. The applicants, because of the peer review issue, have to sign an agreement with the township to cover all of those costs. So it's kind of a bit of an open-ended number at that point until they see the full application. They really don't know how much peer review is going to be required or how much they think needs to be done. So it's a bit of an open-ended number, which can come as a bit of a surprise to applicants. During work completed or consultations, they typically use the same local firms to get drawings done, pipe-sized building designs, and so on created. So there isn't a lot of choices around here as far as engineering firms to do this. Examples would be Cambium Environmental Consultants do the township's landfill, or they used to. I'm assuming they still do our test well monitoring and all of our MOE requirements for reporting and all of those sorts of things. DM Wills was hired to do the Water Street construction in Lakefield. So I'm assuming they did all the design work there and so on. And the county is going to hire Engage Engineering to complete the work on the widening of Ward Street in Bridgenorthtown. So the township hires these licensed professionals to do work for the township because they're respected businesses and they are good businesses in the county of Peterborough. And obviously we try to use local companies. The applicants also go to these same engineering firms for their work because, again, there aren't many. Those are probably the 3 largest ones. I don't want to. There are a number of other companies, but they seem to be the ones that most applicants use. There are a few out of town as well. For natural heritage, geotechnical, floodplain mapping, Orca consultation, they might go to Cambrium. for stormwater management's traffic studies that may go to DM Wills, and for building elevations, other types of engineering stuff they might go to Engage. So what I'm saying is, basically the township uses the same engineering firms as the applicants that are applying to have a project approved. So again, the question around why do we have to do peer review? If it's the same engineers that are providing the municipality with consultation and engineering information, why is it that when an applicant uses the same engineer, peer review has to be done?
Is that a question, Deputy Mayor
It's not a
Black?
question yet, but when I get through.
Okay, well, all right.
I will ask those questions, but so it begs the question about, and these engineering firms, again, are licensed professionals through associations, all of that sort of thing. So, they really are held to a high standard, and municipalities, frankly, are their largest customers. So they're not about to create a report for an applicant that they feel would have a negative impact on the municipality, because again, at the end of the day, if the applicant uses Engage to do the report, the peer review would often be handed to DM Wills, and if DM Wills did the applicant report, it would be handed to Engage. So, they're competing firms, obviously, but they're also competing for municipal business as well. So the real reason behind peer review is that, again, with all due respect to our staff's credentials, Pierre said it, they're not really qualified to look at or determine a lot of the engineering studies that have a lot of data. I'm sure they're good at cursor reviews of that sort of information. So there is a certain amount of peer review has to be done, because we don't have an engineer on staff that really could look at those, preview those reports, and make a determination whether it really needs to go to peer review or does it make sense, that sort of thing. So they do need a third-party opinion on it, again, because we don't hire people on staff that do that. One of the challenges with peer review is most of it's sole sourced. So because staff is trying to get the peer review done as quick as possible to keep the project moving forward, there's not a lot of time to go to tender or an RFP, because that will add another month to the process. So it's often sole sourced. They call an engineering firm, say, can you do a peer review? We'd like to have it done as soon as possible. So of course, it becomes very expensive. There isn't a lot of costing contracts or any kind of agreement with these firms for hourly rates, or if we give you this kind of peer review, how much is it going to cost? So there isn't a lot of that happening, and that ends up being costly for the applicant. And of course, anything the applicant has to pay for goes to added to the price of the house. So, we have to be interested in that part of it for the residents as well. So I'm going to support the bylaw, as I said, because I think from a corporate respect, we have a responsibility to protect that. But again, the whole process, I think, needs to be looked at, and how we can, from a productivity point of view and a cost point of view, make this a better process for our applicants, which in many cases are our residents. So what I'd like to do really is get a staff report that really, because right now we're really circumventing Bill 109 by not having these paybacks to the applicant in place for if we go longer than the 4 months for an OP or 3 months for a zoning. So we're really circumventing the legislation, and like I said, I don't disagree with it, because I do agree with staff that a good portion of the time is not under their control. But so how can we get that time under better control and at a better cost? So I'd like to see a staff report created that would give us the following information over the past 3 years. How much has been deposited and into accounts for peer review for applicants? So peer review costs are very expensive. It's tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands in some cases for bigger projects. So how much have, and again, realizing that the township's not paying those bills. The applicant has to leave a deposit and they pay the bills. So how much basically have we sent out in business for peer review over the last 3 years, on average, what it is for the last 3 years? What are the planning costs and revenues? I'm sure we get that information as council at some point. We get reports from planning or building department on permits and how many applications for planning are in process and how long they're taking. Because again, with this change, because we're not being penalized for late, I don't want to see the planning process get longer because of that, because we're not being penalized for not moving them through the cycle quicker. So basically, understanding cycle times for complete applications now they move to the public meeting. So clearly, once peer review is done and it becomes a complete application, I think Per said that it just really has to go to public meeting if that's the case. So we should never go beyond 4 months for that process. But so the cycle time between the time the applicant drops off their application to the time it's now being considered complete to the public meeting, those kind of statistics. The other thing is opportunity for reducing that cycle time is not limited to hiring qualified engineers on staff. So again, having a civil engineer on staff, if we're already spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in peer review costs, would it improve the process if we had somebody on staff that had the qualifications to say, yeah, that engineering report makes sense. This one maybe doesn't. Maybe we need a second opinion on that one. But if we're already spending that money and it's neutral to the township because the applicant will still pay for it. They will still pay for it. So if we hire a civil engineer, it's going to be paid through the applicant, but probably at a reduced amount as well. And from a time perspective, then we can direct staff on a project to move it forward. And we're not waiting 3 months for the local engineering company to free up somebody to do the peer review work for. So I'm looking to staff to consider, would that make sense? Would it make sense to hire somebody with the credentials that can actually read the reports from a professional standard and minimize or eliminate a lot of the peer review that we have to send out now and wait months and months to get back. And the other thing is, as I said earlier, opportunities to secure contract pricing. If we stay with peer review as it is, I think we need to secure some contract pricing from local engineering firms. So again, when you call for sole source and you want your project moved up the list in these engineering firms, you're paying a lot more for it, trust me. Then if you're going to wait 3 months, then you'll get the regular price. But if you want it done in a month, you're going to pay a lot more for it. That's just the way the business works. So really, that's what I'm looking for is an opportunity to either put staff in place that can move the process through on a cost neutral basis. And as well as make sure that we're monitoring cycle times and that sort of thing.
So Deputy Mayor Black, can I ask, with what you're asking there, does that have any bearing on passing the recommendation that is before us tonight?
No.
So perhaps we can deal with this first, if I can ask you to park that for a few minutes, and we'll go back to the actual report that we received from PAIR and the recommendation that's before us. Can I have someone please move that recommendation? Councillor Boyko and Councillor Henry, all in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, I have one question. I promise it's shorter. Sorry, Ron. Through you, Madam Mayor, to our planner pair. Perhaps to add validity to what we are doing, are there other, you mentioned some of the townships in Peterborough County are going to the similar process. Are there other municipalities, Peterborough and others, that are doing the same thing that you know of?
Through you, Your Worship. Yeah, to my awareness. So the 4 townships that are currently under the county official plan have all signed up for this official plan amendment in order to move in the same direction.
municipality of Trent Lakes is also interested in direction, and the planner there is in regular contact with me to see how we're going through the process. I believe in general, all 8 municipalities are interested, but I don't know the status of the other 3 that, where are we at now? 4, 5, 6, no, the other 3 that are with their own official plan. They have to go through their own process to amend their individual official plan. I don't know where they are with the status of that. I haven't heard. So that'd be like Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, Watanabe, South Monaghan, right? They have their own standalone official plans. I believe they're all interested, to the best of my knowledge, and to go in this direction. Outside of that, I also understand from our county planning department that they've heard of municipalities in the province that are already doing this and have been for a number of years, handling peer review in this manner.
Excellent. Thank you. That adds to the validity of what we're doing, because we won't be seen as an outlier by developers. Excellent. Thank you.
All right. So we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. All right, Ron. So you're looking for some report.
Planning report.
Would you like some comment from staff?
We need a seconder for the request for the planning report, or how do you want to handle this?
Well, I guess I can just provide you some comment and.
Okay.
So for sure, what you're talking about is a very significant project to try and review all of this information. We have actually talked about exactly that type of thing in the past, and it's not just as simple as saying hire a civil engineer and you can cover off all of these things, because we know that we can't. It's not that simple of a calculation, because there's all sorts of different specialties in engineering, and depending on what type of study is being done, you need that specialty to review it and provide that feedback. So it really isn't as simple of an equation as that. I wish it was, but it just really isn't. So to really evaluate that, it would really take a significant amount of time. And I don't know that it's something that, I think if we were going to look at that, we'd want to look at it maybe a little bit broader as well. So I think it's a project all in its own. It certainly isn't something that we foresaw kind of taking on this year as part of our process. So if it's something that council wants to move forward with, then we'd have to look at that, and maybe it's something we could deal with on next year's work plan. We are having our building and planning training coming up, so we can kind of go through the process in a little bit more detail to provide a little bit more information. So maybe that would be helpful. But in terms of this type of a review, I think it's a project on its own that we'd really need to dedicate a lot of time to make it worthwhile. And just if I can just add your comment about circumventing the legislation, that really that's not the intention. When that legislation came forward, we brought the concern to the ministry that was making presentations on Bill 23, and basically their answer was, we also gave you the authority to establish this, help me, the
Housing accelerator.
the pre-consultation process that would include that. So that's essentially what they expected and directed us, or gave us the advice to do. So, it's not really an intention to circumvent, it's an intention to use the tools that they gave us to manage it.
Yeah. I can respond. Yeah, no, I've talked to a number of folks in other municipalities that have done this already. A good friend of mine is that person in another municipality in Southern Ontario, and it has made a huge difference in the department and their ability to interpret. And I said that not all peer review obviously is going to be handled through that person, but that person is better positioned to evaluate those studies and say whether it doesn't make sense, or we need more, it's beyond my scope, or something like that. So I don't think the project is that onerous. It's statistics, it's numbers. Lane has all the numbers on how much has been put in accounts for peer review. That's an easy number to pull, I think. And statistics on number of applications and that, I'm assuming you have that information. I'm not asking for a 50-page report at this point. I'm just asking, do the numbers make sense? Is there enough money that we're sending out in peer review that applicants are paying to consider adding staff to the department that will speed up the process and maybe limit the amount of peer review. So I'm not saying peer review isn't going to have to happen. It's still, but the problem with the process now is calling for peer review. It could be 3 months before somebody gets to it. You know, and that's costly to the applicant. It's time consuming to the project. It's the reason why things don't get built for 3 or 4 years. It's a good part of it. And the pre-planning, the requirements of the consultation process.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing that we have done with some of our peer review and processes, the county did go through a process, an RFP process, probably, does anybody remember 2, 3 years ago? Here?
Yeah, through your worship. The county goes through their RFP process for a peer reviewer, which is unless they've changed recently, because I think the RFP process for the county came up recently. It's traditionally been in Stantec. And it is on a 3-year contract basis. So every 3 years, a request for proposal goes out and they have bidders on the peer review consulting agency or contract for the county.
And we have used them as well for some of our studies.
For some of the studies,
yeah.
That's the other thing I didn't say. The peer review you pay for at the county as well as the township, and I think you work together to decide which studies are going to get peer reviewed by which part of it. If you have an official plan amendment, you got to use the county as well. So you hope that's conversations happening. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and part of certainly we know the number of applications we have. We know what we've taken in security deposits. We know what we've paid out. But the piece of the calculation that you'd really be missing is that piece of, okay, what wouldn't have to go out for peer review, because there's no way for us to evaluate that now. So to try and that piece of the calculation would be missing. And I just would hate for those unintended consequences where we're actually adding cost as opposed to taking it away.
I think there's enough information out there from communities that have done this already to give you an idea of how that's worked out. So again, I think that information is out there to have an estimate of how it might work. It's really at this point, is it something that we should be looking at? I guess is where I'm at. I'm not asking for a 50-page report. I'm just saying, how much are we spending? Can we talk to other municipalities that have done this? Did it make sense for them? Did it speed up their process? Did it help the department be more effective because they have qualified people to help them? That's really what I'm looking at. It's partly productivity, but it's partly cost as well.
Yeah, for sure. So that is, I think you'd want to do that. You'd want to look at others who've done it. A lot of times it's probably a lot larger organizations than ours who've done that. And certainly, the county has engineers on staff, but they still do a lot of external peer review. The only thing I could suggest is that perhaps as part of our look at our departmental structure and how we have our workflows organized, maybe we could do a little bit of research as part of that work later this year that would kind of maybe just scratch the surface, but at least look at it in terms of seeing if some of our other comparable municipalities have done this and what the results have been. And that might be a starting point for further work, depending on what that shows up.
Yeah, I'm aware that the county has engineers as well, and that's the other option is, having that peer review stuff done by engineers at the county, if they have the right people to peer review it on behalf of the township. So again, I'm just looking at ways to try and improve the process and reduce some costs. So I would like it looked at. Again, preliminary, does it make sense to go any further with anything deeper? Does it look at, is there an opportunity to share services with the county for those services? I'll be asking the same questions there. So
I have a question from Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Would having our own engineer on staff and conducting our own peer reviews, could that possibly open us up to greater liability situations?
Well, I guess going back to the fact that you need a qualified engineer, there's very specialized fields. So you need that qualified engineer to look at each different type of study. So for sure, if you have an engineer who's not qualified in that field and they do the review and they don't do it well, then yeah, for sure, it opens us up to more potential for more issues.
Thank you.
Councillor Boyko.
Ron, I appreciate what you're saying and all that you're asking. I'm wondering is this what you were asking for beyond? I understand about the engineering, everything you've been saying, but is this really what you're asking for? In light of Bill 109 and Bill 123, you're asking staff what changes, if any, can be brought to the building and planning approval process to expedite the process.
Basically.
And let staff, who are the experts, come up with something rather than us saying, try the engineer, try this, try that. So if we are in support of such a motion, and we don't have to discuss it or decide it right now, because but we're really asking, in light of Bill 109 and Bill 123, what changes, if any, can be brought to the building and planning approval process to expedite the process?
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, no, I think that's the gist of it really, is with all of these changes, how are we going to monitor the impact is one thing, as well as what are recommendations from staff around improving the process, reducing the timeframes, helping to reduce costs so homes are cheaper, those sorts of things.
And I guess just the other thing I note to that point in particular, we're in such a state of flux right now with the new legislation. Bill 109, we're working our way through. Bill 23, we're starting to work our way through. We know that there's the next one and the next one after that, probably at least two more iterations of legislation. So I think working our way through those first and seeing the impacts of what those, so we really know what the process is going to look like at the end of the day. Because right now, I do think there's a lot of uncertainty on how this is all going to unfold.
A lot of the details that have to do with Bill 23 have not been shared yet. So we don't even know what we're working with. And until we get those, it's difficult to come up with any kind of a strategy.
Which is why I said, Madam Mayor, that maybe we shouldn't decide this now until we have more information. But that is essentially what we will, when the proper time comes, be asking staff to look at. Just as part of it would be looked at anyway, I imagine.
Harry, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just add to one of the major changes that was announced as part of Bill 23 is there going to be a review of the provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So there's potentially a large amount of changes that are still going to be coming down the pipeline that we have no details on as of yet.
So maybe we can park your suggestion for now and have it in the, where do you call it, in the, I'm not going to say in the cupboard, but in the background for now, and see what we ultimately end up with, and then proceed from there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just think it's, again, something that we have to look at. The only thing I would ask for is the peer review numbers. How much are we currently spending on peer review and being reimbursed by the applicants? So that's really the number.
Are we spending money on peer review? It's the applicants that are spending the money on peer review.
Yeah. How much is that?
Yeah, for sure. The applicants pay for it, but when a firm is doing a peer review on our behalf, we pay the bills and we recover the money from the applicant.
Okay. So are you okay with that? With coming up with those numbers?
Yeah, we can provide those numbers. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Right.
We'll move on to Lane. You have budget amendments and PSAC compliance report.
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This is really a housekeeping report provided on an annual basis to council. All of the budget amendments that are spoken to have already been before council, have been approved and presented to the council. But this report combines all the amendments into an updated PSAB compliance report basically takes it from a cash-based budget to a PSAB budget. And the key reason for the report before council is to ensure that the consolidated financial statement that council will receive in the new year reflects council's wishes at the end of the year. So if we just kept it at the very first budget that was approved at the very start of the year and didn't take these other amendments into account, then the auditors would not be comparing the updated budget numbers to the final year number. So as I mentioned, housekeeping report, I'd welcome any questions, Council has.
Are there any questions? If not, can I have someone move the recommendations before us? Councillor Boyko, Councillor Henry, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to Tanya with the procedural bylaw update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report is in follow-up to our December 1st council meeting, where council outlined some changes to our procedures that resulted in us having to amend the procedural bylaw. So I'll just highlight some of them as noted in the report. We removed the reference to town hall meetings. That can be addressed throughout the year. As council wishes, we can pass a resolution to set those dates. We've also amended the procedural bylaw to reflect the new meeting times for council. So the second and fourth Tuesday of every month will start at 1 p.m. That's exclusive. That does not include the months of January, July, August, and December, where we have one meeting a month, but it will start at 1 p.m. As well as that resulted in requiring us to change our curfew time to again reflect that 1 p.m. start time. Additionally, the council portfolios were removed from the procedural bylaw as per council's wish. And then any of the other changes that were put that were made were simply just housekeeping, removing some reference to internet access requirements, to procedures in terms of accessibility practices and what we do with our electronic recordings. So I'll just leave it at that unless council has any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, can I have someone move the recommendation? Deputy Mayor Black and Councillor Koulis. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And did we receive any information, Angie, on the insurance?
No. So we have not received our renewal documents for our insurance program, which is ending at December the 31st. Very disappointing, but I'm sorry, I have no information at this point. So we'll bring that forward in January.
All right, thank you very much. We're moving on to consent items. And what we do with these is if there's anything that you wish to pull, let me know. Otherwise, we approve them all in a block. So is there anything that anyone wishes pulled? Then I would like a motion to receive them all. Councillor Henry and Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. And we are down to other new and unfinished business. We're going to be going into closed in the other room, in the committee room. Prior to doing that, if we can pass the bylaws 2022-080-081, 082, 083, 084, and on until we get to 090. If we can have someone move those bylaws. Councillor Henry, Councillor Koulis, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. And if we can have a motion to go into closed. Councillor Boyko, Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. That's carried. Okay.
Okay, so we'll just deal with a few of the board and committee appointments. So we would need a resolution to appoint Eric Thornley and Thomas Campbell to the Accessibility Advisory Committee, Steve Connolly to the Smith Ennismore Police Services Board, Glenn Bilton, Murray Kidd, and Lorna Plunkett to the Fence Viewers, Property Standards, and Animal Control Appeals Committee. And then finally, that we would arrange for interviews for any new applicants that have applied for the library board, and that there would be a report at the January 17th regular council meeting in closed session to discuss all of the applicants. And then following that, council can make a decision about appointments to the library board.
All right, so can I have someone move that, please? Councillor Boyko and Councillor Koulis, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. I need someone to move the confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Black and Councillor Henry, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And adjournment. Councillor Henry and Councillor Boyko, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
So we're meeting tomorrow?